Hi, Rose. I'm Sarah from the upcoming. So lovely to meet you virtually.
Lovely to meet you too. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Bored of
Good.
lockdown, but
I know. My
you know,
gosh, can you believe it? Ugh.
still
Ugh.
going.
Yeah.
But at least I get to do interesting chats like this, so that keeps me entertained.
Yeah, no, this is the most people I've talked to in a long time, to be fair. I was like, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming.
So yeah, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us. Maybe you could just kick off with a brief introduction to Baby Done. What's this film
Yes.
all about? What can people expect when they tune in to see it?
Baby Done is a film about a woman who gets pregnant, falls pregnant, and kind of freaks out in terms of she's a very ambitious person. Her name's Zoe, and she kind of tries to tick off all of the things on her bucket list before the baby comes. And yeah, I play Zoe, and it's sort of like a little bit of a off kilter pregnancy rom com kind of thing. And My co-star is Matthew Lewis, who plays my partner in the film, Tim. And yeah, it's just a bunch of me being pregnant and freaking out. Essentially, that's the gist.
I actually had a baby just over 5 months ago, so I
Really?
found it incredibly relatable.
Oh my gosh, 5 months. Oh my gosh, how's it been?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind, but
Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
so much of what's hit upon in the film, obviously, kind of more up in the run up to her
Mm.
giving birth, but really struck a chord with me. So, what was it about the script and the story that really drew in? Why did you want to play Zoe?
Well, I mean, I knew the writer and the director, Sophie Val and Curtis Val, who wrote and directed it, respectively. I knew them through just doing theatre stuff and performances in Auckland, and I knew that Sophie was such an amazing writer. I love her as a person, and Curtis is a great director. And so they got me in to do early kind of reads of the script when they were developing the script and all of that. And they'd written just such an amazing character, an amazing, I think, really awesome story that I was like, not, I couldn't really particularly relate in the sense that I've never been pregnant. I don't have a child of my own, but I definitely related to being the age of that character and feeling just all the pressure I think that is put on people who can have children to have children, and how you have children and how to be the perfect version of a parent. And that really resonated. And also I think Sophie definitely was kind in tailoring the character a bit to my comedic abilities and sensibilities, I think. So that was good.
And
Yeah.
I was thinking, there's so many things that are kind of unexpected about the portrayal of a woman falling pregnant and how she
Mhm.
copes with it, and this role reversal in the relationship. Maybe we're used to kind of seeing the guy freak out and
Yeah,
worry about becoming a parent, but the mother to be is glowing and embracing the whole thing. So was
totally.
that something that why did you want to tackle it in that way, and why do you think it's important perhaps to represent this kind of more nuanced approach?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important even in just like it's kind of uh really articulated in even the response to the film as well, and that people just do not see women as complex, nuanced, sometimes morally like you know morally kind of confused characters. I think people are so harsh on female characters in films to be this kind of moral compass, or this virgin mother vibe who is not at all conflicted in her emotions about such a huge undertaking and event in their life. And it's funny because a lot of the response about this film is like, how did you feel playing such an unlikable character? And it's such a selfish character. And it's like, well, I just don't think that I really don't think people would ask the same thing of a man, like of a man of an actor, like tackling, because that's what we're kind of used to seeing. And exactly what you said about the reversal of the roles. It's like, we expect a man to like not be engaged or be freaked out or all of this stuff. And because it subverts the expectation, oh, it's interesting. But it's not unusual. I know many women who, watched the film and were like, oh my gosh, it's exactly how I felt. I think women are given less opportunity to be flawed. And it was really cool being able to play like a really flawed character who you ultimately still root for because it's very human to be flawed. I don't know. So yeah, that's my mess. I mean, I've had a lot of time in lockdown to think about that, about the response to this character in particular, which a lot of people are like, wow, she's been quite selfish and all this stuff, and she's not acting as a mother should, and it's like that's the point of the film, is that what should a mother, be, or how should they act? There's no one way.
That's really interesting, actually, that you got that response from some people, because that, as you mentioned, sort of that basically does summarize how
Yeah.
women are made to feel. And I think perhaps with social media, it's like portraying this kind of perfect, person who's just, once you find out you're pregnant, all, everything about you is put to the side except for wanting to be a mum and enjoying being a mum. So
Totally. No one's watching Knocked Up and going, I can't watch Knocked Up because he's just so irresponsible and he's smoking weed all the time, and like, I can't watch it because he's such a selfish character. It's like, it's wild, the double standard people have in terms of what their expectations of these characters and these roles would be. Yeah, it's mad.
And
But,
what I also liked about it is that it does show Zoe as kind of a physically capable character as well. The fact that she's kind of this tree surgeon and she can carry on doing the things that she wanted to do, for the most part, not to the extreme she wants to. And that's something else as well, that, our expectations of a pregnant woman is kind of, that you should be sort of locked up basically and, away from any dangers. So was that also like, an interesting part of the role to kind of get quite physical with it?
yeah, totally. It was really cool to show that, like, pregnant women are capable of a lot more physically than people expect them to. I think it also kind of speaks to the kind of erasure of a woman's identity when they become pregnant. You don't become you become a pregnant woman, and because you're physically kind of in the care of some other living thing, it becomes like that's the start of this sort of change of your kind of identity in the eyes of other people that exactly this character freaks out about, because she's like, it changes other people's perception of you. So I think that's why she like so fiercely kind of clings to her, her work and her ability to still be physical and be herself within reason. But because that's her and that's her personality, and she doesn't want to lose that. So yeah.
And I love the fact as well that she doesn't just freak out, about becoming a parent and losing her identity, but the actual physical process of this like tiny human growing inside of her. Because I think people don't talk about that enough. I find that quite like, what what's so weird.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
The comedy that comes out of that, I think, is brilliant.
There's so many people who are like, great, brilliant mothers who love their children, great parents who love their children and give birth, but it's still a weird thing. It's like, oh my gosh, there's something moving inside me. Like when I touch the bellies of my sister-in-law or cousins stuff, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a leg, that's a foot in you. Oh my gosh, and it's beautiful, but it is slightly surreal and strange. Yeah, but I mean, I can't talk. I've never had it happen. You've just had a blooming baby 5 months ago. You probably speak to that better.
And also, like the relationships she has with, say, for example, her mother, her parents, kind of like this ongoing joke, like you weren't a mistake kind of thing. And maybe we realize there's a taboo around that, of kind of admitting that, even our own parents and us becoming parents, that we have to hide kind of those absolutely natural feelings that happen around having kids.
Oh, totally. I think it's a mistake to think any parent is perfect. Like, and I think again, that's what social media plays into, or kind of exacerbates, is that pressure to like be a perfect parent. And then you look at our parents, or our generation of parents who didn't have those sort of front facing kind of ways, or like ways to show off about your parenting. And it's my parents did some crazy stuff. Oh, I'm surprised. I'm I should have probably been sent away, with some of the stuff that they managed to do. But it was the 90s. It was a different time, So I think, yeah, it's, I think there's a lot of pressure on parents these days but there's a pressure on everyone. So, you just got to chill out, do the best you can. You're going to mess up your kids somehow, but you just got to try and just chip away at the extent at which you do that. I think there's a great Philip Larkin, poem about that. That puts it better than me.
And coming to sort of the making of it, like it does get very physical for your character. You're off a tree.
Yes.
There's kind of a slightly fumbled threesome. You're stuck under a door. How did
Slightly
you find?
fumbled is really generous of a way of putting. Yeah, that scene. Yeah.
What was your experience of making the film? It looks like you had a lot of fun in the end.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. It was such a short shoot. I mean, not a short shoot, but it was a 5-week shoot. And super quick. A lot to shoot as well. Like it's a really packed film. And it's kind of you're running on adrenaline, really, basically for 5 weeks, and I kind of enjoy that because I feel like that I come from a sort of background. I mean, doing comedy festivals for months long at a time, that's a similar situation where it's just totally running on adrenaline. So it's exciting, and it's exciting to play someone who, yeah, I mean, even the role of being an arborist, it was like really interesting and cool to like be able to climb trees and learn about that and yeah, for a person who I really am truly not physical. I mean, I pulled a muscle in my ass sneezing in bed last night. Like that's the level that my lockdown body has got to with my mobility. So looking at this film, I'm like, wow, I could climb trees. Remember that? That was great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
It was fun though.
And you seem to have a great on-set chemistry with Matthew playing Tim. So what was it like working with him? And do you think a lot of the kind of authenticity of that did come a lot from the writer and the director? Them being in a relationship as well. It kind of mirrored onto your characters.
Yeah, well, it was. Sophie took so much from their own relationship and their own experiences, before they had their first child, and put so much of that in the script. So I think it was easy to take that script, which was so organic. It was a relationship so organically written, and then kind of bring it to life a bit. And it helped that Matthew's so great, and we got on as friends so well. And I think that just the ease of company in someone else's company, and also we're both in it together of like this pretty intense, fast, low budget, independent feature New Zealand shoot. But that really helped as well. And also when you're doing comedy, it's fun because it's not as it's the subject matter is like light and you can have fun a lot of the time. So yeah, it was such a thrill, and it's so great that we found someone who I think matched, really was so perfect for that Tim character. You have to be kind of really awesomely into it and sensitive to almost to the point of being annoying, of being too into it. It's like, chill out, dude.
And thinking about, you mentioned that they sort of perhaps kind of slightly molded or tailored the character for your comedy talents. So what is it like moving from kind of predominantly doing stand-up comedy into acting in a film, and what do you think you can bring from your experience of being on stage and stuff to performing on set?
I think elements, I mean, just even just doing a comedic script and being a comedic character, it's helpful to be a comedian. And I think I do improv comedy as well back in New Zealand, and a lot of the improv comedians or the people who are in the improv group were in the film as well as like little bit parts and stuff. So every scene I've got like a person who I've improvised with, so that really freed me up to be able to really ad-lib a lot, and within reason, and improvise and have fun with the script and stuff. And so that was an amazing sort of asset to have. And it was the acting, it was the drama that was it was the scariest bit. I think a lot of people find comedy scary, and I'm like, oh no, that's fine. I get that. I get comedy. And then it's like the dramatic scenes where I'm like, what am I doing? Oh my gosh, I have to actually act. Oh my gosh. So yeah, don't know if comedy helped me there.
And I understand it had you had Taika Waititi on as executive producer, and as you
Yes.
mentioned, quite a lot of these figures from the kind of New Zealand,
Yes.
scene. So how was it to have him involved, and kind of have these people from that whole community kind of all together?
Well, the film was made with his production company, with Carthew Neal, the producer of the film, Picky Films, and Picky Films is an amazing sort of initiative well, not initiative, it's a production company that specifically produces films and television from people, Indigenous people, and people with Maori, Pacific Island heritage, and also a lot of comedy, I think, on their slate. And I think that's their real strength, is that they've got a real eye for like really kind of broadly appealing comedy. And so then they kind of utilize a lot of awesome talent from New Zealand. So Madeline Sami, who plays the nurse in Baby Done, also was in Breaker Upperers with Jackie Van Beek, which is another Picky film. And so yeah, you see like familiar faces crop up a lot in these films, and that's just because New Zealand, A, is a small place, and B, it's like once you find a funny group of people, talented people, then you tend to work with them a lot. But it's cool because I think they really stacked it with a lot of sort of cameos from really funny performers who do their own work in their own right. And it's always satisfying when you kind of watch a film, you recognize people from different things. You're like, oh my gosh, they're from that. Oh yeah, oh, and then that. Like I did a tiny role in Breaker Upperers as a checkout girl. So it's all like, it's kind of like the Marvel universe, but of New Zealand comedy, just crossing over.
And how do you feel about your kind of, if you call it, meteoric rise, from your stand-up career, 2018 Edinburgh Comedy Festival, and I actually saw your Horndog routine. I can't remember when, but it was in London.
Wow.
I guess
Was it in London? Was it at Leicester Square or was it Soho Theatre?
Soho Theatre.
Was Soho Theatre. Oh, okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I did 2 runs of it at Soho Theatre, I think.
Yeah. So it's absolutely brilliant. So like, how do you feel about the where your career's gone, and what are you hoping to do next and in the future?
I have well, it's been an amazing, like I've no doubt had some awesome opportunities come up and have been able to make some great stuff, but I never think about like I'm always worried. I'm a very anxious person, so I'm genuinely always worried about like when the next thing's going to come, and I'm like, oh well, this is it. This is the final thing I'll ever do. And also just being in lockdown, it's kind of it's sad in a way, because like you don't really get to enjoy the um I don't know, like all these things have come out, and then it's kind of like you're just at home alone in your room, and you're like, cool, well that thing's out now. Like with the premiere of Baby Done in New Zealand, I wasn't even there. It was this massive premiere that I sent my family along to, and I was literally up in London, like total lockdown, being like FaceTiming them at the premiere, being like, oh wow, it looks really nice. Yeah, things are terrible here. So it's been a surreal thing to have a lot of stuff like that come out in a year where we're in this position up in London. But it's awesome, and I'm so grateful to be able to make stuff, and it's cool. But I really do still think I'm just like, oh my gosh, people are kind of going overboard. Like I'm really not that. I don't know why people are letting me do this stuff. They're really giving me a platform, and I don't know if I'm up to the task. I just like I'm an introverted person who likes staying at home making dioramas. Like, this is not the person you want. Yeah, it's lovely.
I didn't even think about that. That obviously New Zealand, everything's almost back to normal, is it? And you can't go back.
I mean, I went back last year for about 5 months when everything first started happening, just because I was like, I need to finish, scripts and write some writing work, and I was like, I'm just going to go home and go live with my nan for like 5 months. And it was amazing. And then we came out of lockdown, and I had a couple of months, there where it was, pretty relatively free. But like, I was like, I need to go home. Like, I was like, I needed all my stuff. I packed in an hour and then jumped on a plane and then lived there for half a year. And as much as I love my nan, I think I was getting on her nerves. Yeah.
So do you know what you'll be doing next? Is it Starstruck that you've got
Yeah,
coming out next?
Starstruck is going to be coming out later on this year. And yeah, so I've been working on that and finishing that up, which is super exciting. And beyond that, yeah, this is more writing projects, and hopefully, someone else is gonna put me. I don't know, put me in a movie. I mean, I never. It's because I write all my other own stuff as well. So I'm like, come on, guys, give me an audition. I'll do something good for you. I can't do any accents. I can kind of do an American accent and can't really do a British one. But I'm just waiting for my big Oscar nominated part, basically, in lockdown, and I'm gonna just crochet until that happens. Be fun.
Sounds brilliant. Oh, well, thank you.